Okay, and before I get ready to stop tonight, this video may be two parts. We'll go ahead and I want to show you what I'm going to do. So this is the original line that came off of the ATV with the thermostat, and this is the line without the thermostat. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut this silicone hose into 3 pieces, and we're going to make the gap for the thermostat here. And what that's going to allow me to do is reinstall the thermostat onto the system. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and mark it. We'll go ahead and mark the new silicone hose for where I want to make the cuts. And you always cut a little bit longer than what you need. We'll go ahead and cut these first 2 pieces here. And actually, if we take it apart, if you take your hose apart and then re-look at it, you'll be able to make more of a judgment on your cuts. Now, it probably helps if you have a good pair of scissors. I didn't think that this hose was going to be this hard to cut. Okay, so we've got our cut here, and what you'll see is little frayed ends on this. And what we're going to do with our frayed ends is just burn them down. It really doesn't matter that they're on there. Just something I do. And then we have our one replacement. And you really only get one shot at this, so make sure that you do it right the first time. Man, these things have been on here so long. Then we'll measure our next cut. Can't believe that radiator, that hole isn't properly done. Wasn't properly made. I don't have a tap and a die big enough to take care of that. Holy cow. Holy cow. Okay. Might end up recutting that. what we'll do is we'll test fit it first, and then go back. Ooh, whoopee. And our final cut. Alright, looking pretty good there. You know, I have a thermostat, but man, am I worried about this getting sealed back up, because I didn't get a gasket. I'm going to go ahead and replace this thermostat. Okay, now on this thermostat, you have 3 T20 bolts here, or screws. And when I looked this up on Polaris, and they are not tight in there, so don't over tighten these when you're putting them back in. They're just screws. I did not see a gasket for this. And this thermostat's good, but man, I'm already this far in it, and this thermostat is 12 years old. So I'm just going to replace it. Son of a bitch, there's a rubber O-ring in there. I knew there had to be a piece of rubber in there. They did not offer any type of piece of rubber to buy to get this to seal. And it just appears that it sits on top. Oh man, I don't like that. Sucker better not leak. We're going to go ahead and put these screws back in. God. I would have bought that. And I've got some rubber O-rings, but you know what? I'm going to take a picture of this so you guys can see. If you look real close when you're changing this thermostat, of course you can't see with the light. There's this little piece of rubber, and you need to make sure to install it how it came out. It's just an O-ring basically. It looks like it's actually flat on one side. Maybe that's from being smashed. Oh, I never have luck with these things, that they always leak. And what you want to do is don't tighten all the screws up tight, because you want to do it in a pattern. So it gets a pressed fit. Okay, here's where we run into non-Polaris part problems. The screws aren't going through the housing because it's not an OEM part. It's an aftermarket mass-produced part. So the top isn't fitting properly. There's a reason that they made these screws. Once you get them all snug, go 1 to 1 to 1, all three snug, and then go back and kind of tighten them. But this piece was not very tight to begin with. I didn't even have to have a tool to get it loose. I'm expecting this to leak. If it doesn't leak, I'll be surprised. Okay. Hopefully it don't leak. Then we'll go ahead and kind of set our hoses up and see what we need to do for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to install the very small one first onto the top of the engine, and then plug the thermostat into it. Okay, we got problems. The problem I'm seeing right away is that the thickness of the silicone is greater than what was on there before with the radiator hoses. So we'll kind of put this clamp on here and pre-install it and see if we can get around this. Okay, we get lucky here. We'll be able to tighten this up. Hey, all right, let's get the thermostat. Okay, got the thermostat, so let's go ahead and get it put on. It's a real tight fit the way that they did this. You can you can tell that Polaris was like, look KTM, we need a badass engine so we can compete in the marketplace, but we don't want to design one. So this KTM engine, I mean, they're just notorious for performance. That's why I bought this thing. Now before we tighten that clamp, we're going to go ahead and put this lower one on too, this lower radiator hose. And this is the hose that I might have to trim up from the original here. I actually cut these hoses a little long for a reason. Because you never want to cut these hoses too short if you do this. And I'm going to trim some of this fat off of that. Then we will try to refit it here. Yeah, that's going to work. Just if you're going to do this, cut these long, and then you can come back and fit these back on. Don't over tighten these ones that go into the plastic thermostat. Then we have our final one that we're going to put on. I cut this one a little long too, but not so worried about it, because we can come back and cut all these out. What I'm more worried about is tapping that radiator hose, or that radiator for that bigger thermo switch. Now we just got to wait for the radiator. I'll give you a little look here. I know it was really hard to see what was going on here, but we now have the silicone hoses onto the thermostat. We'll get the top view of it. And hopefully everything will go well with the radiator.